Good evening and welcome back to another episode of the Sim Racing Alliance Grid Report. The crew is back this week, but you'll notice someone different sitting in the middle seat. We've taken adventure with the fact that Lucas has gone away for Thanksgiving weekend, and we're bringing on our first guest. Joining us in the booth this week is going to be none other than Sim Racing Alliance's Dominic Duran. How's it going, buddy? Welcome to the booth.
Thank you, Josh. I'm excited to be here. I not too often I get to chat F1 and just racing in general with people, so this is going to be really refreshing.
Yeah, it should be a great time. It's like you said, it's going to be a little bit more F1 this week. We've got the off week for SRA right now. Just finished League in a week, which we'll touch on a little bit, but the season finale for F1 and already the rumblings and moves going on around the paddock has a lot to talk about. So, yeah, and not going to leave you in the dark, but what's going on, Bailey?
Oh, nothing much. I'm just eating some food quietly, but happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Dominic, glad to have you here with us.
What is it with you and always bringing food to the podcast but never sharing?
Well, I gladly share, but kind of hard to in this predicament.
We'll find a way. We'll use some of those
Okay.
Badman funds. But League in a week. For those unfamiliar, running over that again. 5 nights in a row, 2 races a night, 20-minute races. No teams, just solo for your own GT3 cars. An absolute bonanza once again. Up and down the grid, just nothing but people having fun. And even though the races only averaged, I'd say 20 to 30 racers, we did have 62 total people sign up. So a lot of people jumping in, jumping out, getting some fun in over the course of the weekend. Happy to crown Danny Durant's the winner in his Porsche. Had a little bit of I know he had some fun at Paul Ricard. Spicing up his first to, I believe, 5th finish. Nick San in P2 and Nate Spetch in P3. But yeah, League in a Week's been around for a little bit now. We've used it between the seasons, usually for evaluating new drivers, keeping people engaged in between the GT3 seasons. But we used it during the Thanksgiving week this season just to, I don't know, have something going on. Did either of you guys participate? I wasn't there for all of the races.
I know the Dominic Duran did, and he actually was the host of the last 2 races.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I showed up to a few. I think I did Coda, and then I did host the last 2 because I realized there wasn't anybody else available to start the servers and whatnot on the back end, and I think usually we're a bit more prepared and organized than that, but I guess it all worked out. I mean, we had a couple hiccups, but other than that, I think what needed to be done got done.
I can agree with that.
Definitely. And I don't know. The Coda was not my favorite race. I'll say that. I skipped that one on purpose. But yeah, the tracks this League in a Week were pretty good, nice and refreshing. Olton and Mount Panorama was quite the spice of a night. I know a lot of people were dreading that one, but it produced some pretty exciting racing. But that finale night with Watkins Glen and or was that Olton Park?
No, it was Watkins.
Watkins and what was our other track? My brain is already farting, even though it was only a few days ago. Zolder. Those were some interesting races, Mr. Host. And yeah, like I don't know, we saw a little bit of an issue with blue flags sometimes. A couple people just getting caught up in how fast cars were coming around the track in that 20 minutes. Did you find yourself caught out by the grid, or were you fighting your way through? I wasn't sure I didn't see where you finished out. Or were you just hosting on the computer side, not actually racing?
No, I showed up to both. Zolder, let's see, what happened? Actually, you know what? The reason I actually wanted to race at all, I was just going to host, but the reason I wanted to race is because I got called out by Durbin.
Oh,
I think I mentioned this on stream, but Durbin called me out and told me that he was the superior Watkins Glen driver.
oh,
So I, I said, Durbin, I don't want to have to do this to you, but I think to be fair to on both tracks tonight. And so I showed up to both, crashed out of both, ended both races early.
oh.
So, pretty productive night for me. But I didn't get the chance to see any blue flags come around. I don't know about you guys.
Fair enough. Yeah, I didn't encounter any myself. I was either just, I don't know, blindly going around them with pack of cars or sitting in the pits taking damage. So,
Just to
but
clear the air, though, Duran, I believe you did tie Durbin on a technicality.
Oh, at Watkins?
Yeah.
let
If you
me
check the results
let me check the
website, I think
results.
I'm on top.
Race.
But on a technicality, it was a
Actually,
double DNF.
if I'm looking at the race for Watkins Glen, Dominic Duran finished 23rd. Durbin Legacy finished 27th. There were 3 drivers between you.
Missed that.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I don't know how you both got the same amount of points.
Is the same amount of points 0?
No, yourself, Darren Robichard in 24th, and Durbin all got 4 points.
Oh, something's broken then. I know Durbin got disqualified doing I don't know what, but
Oh, Durbin, we love you, buddy.
And Durbin will be listening to this. He's always in chat when this goes premiered. So
We
he will
love
be
it.
listening.
Attaboy. We love the support. That is for sure.
For sure.
But yeah, you mentioned there the stream. We did stream the finale. I think we had a good turnout for that, similar to the GT3 series. I know a lot of people like asking people for streaming their POVs during these races. The 20 minutes keeps the battles really tight, so I know I'm gonna go back and watch that tonight.
I actually jumped on the stream right before it started. Well, the Watkins Glen one, shall I say? Just because they were needing a pip, so I said, "I'll do it. Why not?" So I fortunately got to watch the finale.
I see. Yeah, and that Watkins race was pretty good. I personally do not like that track, but by the end of the 20 minutes, I was having a ball. A little bit of off-roading, a little bit of on-roading, but the pace didn't matter. League and Week is just, like I was saying, the battling's so close. It's just fun all the way up and down the grid.
Mhm.
that's actually a really hot take right there. You don't like Watkins. I feel like you're part of maybe a 2% that doesn't like
Really?
Watkins. Yeah,
Notice-
what doesn't it do for you?
For me, it's my inconsistency into the bus stop and how it just, I don't know, like I inconsistently go in and then I'm either in the wall or I'm parked in the runoff at the end of the corner, or like something about that corner is just so blinding. With maybe it's just the race times that we happen to run here at SRA, but I don't know, I can never spot apexes.
Your beef's more with bus stop than Watkins Glen.
No, the track
Is what it
sucks.
sounds like.
Track sucks.
Oh, okay. It's not what it sounded like.
Turn 1's a thumbs down. No, it's not that bad of a track. I always say this, but eventually come around to them as I put more time in. But just like Indy, which I'm also not the biggest fan of currently, I have not put very many laps in.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Josh, I'm pretty sure I've heard you say I've heard more of you're not a fan of a track than a track you like.
Really?
Yeah, the only track I've ever heard you say you like is Suzuka. Oh, nope, that's false. And Nürburgring.
You're missing the other part of the trifecta. Laguna Seca.
Ew, what the hell?
Laguna's a great track.
Mm-mm.
Plus the underrated one where I finished off my championship, Mount Panorama.
Well, that one is
In other words, I spent too much time playing Gran Turismo growing up, and those were the tracks I ran the most.
I can tell.
Yeah, I mean it works out sometimes.
Yeah. Happy for you though.
Man, I appreciate it. But even though we are on the break, an interesting graphic was posted in the Discord that I kind of want to go over. And the GT3 series, everybody has teammates, but a lot of teams have formed conglomerates where they kind of work together with each other across divisions, or maybe with just like a group of people with the same car, or maybe even different cars that want to run like coordinated liveries and stuff like that, and help each other win. Not really championship, but there's a lot of the conglomerates are actually pretty close. From 8th to 3rd are split by 171 points, which is not that much. That's just over a win and a half. And then we have second place. Then sorry, that third place is 697. Second place we have the Grid Thieves at 935. And after 2 races, the Badman's conglomerate sits atop the league with 4,410 points.
Really close racing, if you ask me.
I agree. I agree. What?
4,000
After
after
2
2 races.
races.
Oh my god.
Like, I'm very curious to see what that is after 8.
That's just a testament to their recruiting skills. I think
Yeah.
we need to request that the points per driver be incorporated into this graphic.
I would like to know what it is actually.
We should get Data Dahi on this and give us a detailed breakdown.
Oh, he'll expose the Badmans for sure.
Oh yeah, all of their points are coming from D4.
He forced their point farm system.
Literally.
Hmm.
Even though
I'd
they
argue
have,
that
I think they have like half the grid in D2
I was gonna say
under
I
their
think the
wing.
top, like 4 of the top 7 teams are Badmans in D2. At least 4.
You love to see it.
Well, we know their D1 drivers aren't scoring big points.
Well, no, that's why D2 is so stacked, because we have to pick up for what they're losing.
Facts.
I
My shoulders are
I hope
hurting,
they're
Doug.
listening.
Yeah.
Oh, they'll be listening. Believe me. They have one of them posts this. So
Do we have any other interest? Stardust compet. Oh, I always struggle to say this word. Stardust Competizione is not a big conglomerate by any means. I think it's kind of impressive that they're in 4th.
yeah,
Yeah.
like they're single digit
8 drivers,
drivers,
I
no?
think. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's 8 drivers.
Yeah, I think so.
It's somewhere around that number.
673 points after 2
Yeah,
races. That's a lot.
compared to the 60 in badminton.
Yeah, literally. But I'm itching to get back to the GT3. I could deal with no brakes, but at the same time, like need brakes. I don't know.
Break was nice.
It is, but like I don't know. I felt out of place without a practice race Monday, a race to watch Tuesday, and a race on Wednesday.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. What are you gonna do though when like the Christmas break comes around, the 2 weeks?
Cry,
Oh, okay.
Spend money.
watch
Yeah, that
watch World Junior Hockey if they do it.
while crying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know me so well.
What can I say, Josh? You're like
What?
an open book.
Yeah, 2 pages and it's a picture book.
There you go. That's why I don't read.
Is the
Oh
break really
man,
only 2 weeks?
I think so. Like 2 total weeks off, I think.
let me double check here on my.
It's the week of Christmas and then the week of the 1st as well.
We have the week before Christmas, the week of Christmas, and then we are back on the 2nd of January.
Hmm.
So it's, yeah, 2 weeks off. But that really makes this season pretty long. Like it ends in the end of January.
Mhm.
We're starting in November.
Yeah. Well, it also could play into a lot of people's hands. Could also really hurt a lot of people because if they're off to a rough start, this could just be a drag on season where they're just with itching to get it over with, move on to season 6. Whereas there's probably other people who are like, oh, can this next race come? Can this next race come? So they're fighting for championships already. So
Yeah.
those people in the winning positions probably will spend those weeks off practicing, getting quicker, making sure they don't lose any of the momentum that they have. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens after the big break.
Yeah. We might have a very interesting looking grid for all of those races.
For sure.
But to something that was actually going on. Formula One, finish of the 2022 season. I really enjoyed this one. I don't know about you
I,
guys.
I agree. Yeah, it was very entertaining.
Like last season was a lot of battling. Like every race was entertaining, and like this year had some sleepers, Brazil, but um like I don't know, like the racing itself between cars was a lot more entertaining to watch. It wasn't just like, oh, is the strategy going to play out or is he actually going to catch up close enough to catch DRS? It's more so like, how is he going to fit his car past him? There's 4 cars right there.
Yeah.
I just think back to Silverstone.
Well, to start of Silverstone, you got to think of what happened with Zhou Guan Yu
Oh
flipping his
yeah.
car.
We always think about that one.
Yeah.
That was scary, man. Flipping over
Mm-hmm.
barriers and into crash fences.
Mm-hmm.
I
That was probably the biggest crash of the year. No,
I think so. Yeah.
yeah, the Lance Stroll Nick Latifi one was pretty violent, wasn't it? I think that was Australia,
I
where he
don't remember
drove
that
into
one.
the back of his car. It sent the one of them like spinning off into the wall.
I don't remember that.
Let me. I wish I looked into this stuff before we started recording. You know, I used my noggin.
Oh, Mick Schumacher, I think it was Saudi Arabia. His impact was like 60 Gs or something like that.
oh yeah, he split
Oh,
the.
Yeah, and
Or
his
was that
car
Monaco?
lost. No, it was Saudi Arabia.
He had a couple big shunts at the beginning of the year.
Oh no, you're right. His car split in half at Monaco, but the one at Saudi was one that was 60 G impact to the concrete barrier.
I kind of want to feel what 60 Gs is like.
Well, you
In
tell
that,
me how it is, and I'll gladly watch. Because I don't.
oh,
Because
I think I found the video of the incident I'm talking about, but instead they're showing me an AlphaTauri ad with Pierre Gasly.
mm,
Like, yes,
ooh,
please show me this cardigan that won't keep me warm in 2-degree weather for $500.
can they still show ads even though he's signed with Alpine?
Alpine, I guess so.
I mean,
I
can't
don't
I
know
guess you can't. I don't know why you wouldn't.
if he still has a sponsorship deal with them.
Yeah. But yeah, I just think of that accident with Mick was brutal. Like it probably caused the most pain, but the one with Zhou Guan Yu is definitely I think the most brutal.
It almost rolled into the stands.
Yeah, almost flipped over the fence.
I'm gonna send a quick link in the chat down below. Just kidding. It wasn't as violent as I remembered, but it was Australia during qualifying.
Yeah, I didn't.
Oh yeah,
Latifi drove past him, and then Lance just like turned into the side of his car and blew the rear axle apart.
Oh, you know what it was? I didn't wake up for this race. That's why I don't remember it.
That's a damn shame, man. That was a good one.
I know. I'm a fake fan, you could say.
Uh, I have slept through races a few times, like woken up as they're finishing.
Well, because you stay up all night, so like you wake
Sometimes
up when the race starts.
it depends. Like if it's a weekend where like F1, 2, 3, and Porsche Cup are there and it starts at like 3 o'clock in the morning, sure, I'll take like a nap after work on Friday or something and then stay up and watch all
Mhm.
of Saturday. But like if it starts at 9 in the morning, unfortunately sometimes those are the days where my body decides to go, yeah, we will sleep in now and wake up at 11.
Oh, that was brutal. Not as bad though as the other two, I'd say.
No,
But
no, 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 not at all. After refreshing my brain.
yeah. But just thinking, like comparing back to last season, not like the previous season, but the season before, it was the Max versus Lewis. Just comparing those seasons, I think 21 was a good season, like good racing. It was just more draining than anything with how much controversy there was, whose fault was it, to whereas this season there was just so much action and so much Ferrari pain. I mean, Ferrari failure.
Spinato clown.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It definitely, yeah, the the top three fight kind of took the focus away from everything in the midfield. And the midfield was like, it was bananas this season.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's the new formula, or I don't know what you guys call it, the new design.
new regs.
Yeah, the new regs um, that did it. But I mean, every car was so track dependent,
Yeah,
and I was like paying attention to the midfield for a good chunk of the first half of the season, but it gets to a certain point where you're just like, okay, the top three are coming out so far ahead of everyone else as usual, but there's also no clear fight for best of the rest, just because you don't know who's going to show up on any given day.
yeah. Who I can't remember who ended up taking a best of the rest. Alpine?
Yeah, Alpine.
Okay. Just
Which
because I
makes
knew
sense. They had a
the
really
last
strong
race.
first half.
I agree. Well, I would say they were there the entire season. It's just they didn't have a very reliable car.
Yeah, they couldn't finish a race to save their life.
Yeah.
I saw another interesting graphic showing DNFs over the season,
Hmm.
and I think Ocon had one
Wow.
Really?
compared to Alonso's. I don't know, couldn't tell you. Maybe
8?
8 or 9. Yeah, that sounds about
Yeah.
right. Kind of makes
That's
you wonder.
Yeah. Well, I remember seeing something on Twitter where I think it said half of his DNFs were from water coolant leaks. I think is what it was. Either something, a water leak or a coolant leak or something like that. Um, caused half of his DNFs, and they didn't know what was going to happen, so they just retired the car. And apparently, they didn't want to fix it.
Ocon had 2 DNFs.
But I
Silverstone
mean,
and Singapore.
yeah. But I mean, still compared to Fernando,
Yeah, that's night and day.
yeah, for sure. But just highlighting, we didn't talk about Brazil at all.
No, we did not. We
I think
completely
we talked.
glanced over that.
I think we talked about the sprint race, if I'm correct.
Yes, we did talk about the
Yeah,
sprint, but we did not
but
talk
we
about
never.
the actual race.
George Russell, first win
I'm
in
so
F1.
proud of that boy.
Well, did you hear what happened towards the end of the race?
Yeah, he was he had something that wasn't he like low on fuel or something like that? It was something that was going to keep him from finishing the race.
He had a water leak
Oh
as
shit.
well. Yeah, and they didn't know if the car was going to make it because they didn't know what was going to happen.
Wow.
So he was fighting that and fighting to keep the gap between him and Lewis.
Man, imagine Mercedes bullshit caused him another fucking win. Like,
I, oh, that would be so bad.
hey, George, I know we're like the best team in the entirety of this championship and have been for 7 years, but guess what? What? We put the wrong tires on your car. What?
And then finished 7th and 8th in the same race.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, that's brutal.
My
But yeah,
God.
Mercedes were back
Mm.
for that weekend.
I was actually
Finishing.
happy to see them up there
Uh, I can't say the same, but
because there was no
it
cocky
was,
energy.
it was a good little good. Well, I think it would have been different if Lewis won the race.
Facts. But
I would rather seen Ferrari than them.
oh, I agree on that one. I was kind of slowly tailing onto the bandwagon this season. At the start, I'm like, personally, I feel that F1 isn't right without that red team up at the top or near the top. And like the fact that they were winning and stuff, it's like, okay, I want to get on this energy train. So if they do it by the end of the season, I can, celebrate. It'll
Mhm.
feel good, but holy shit.
Yeah,
Yeah, it would have been nice to see them get some wins in the back half of the season.
yeah, they were more of they were just probably they were more fighting themselves, is what I would say.
Oh, 100%.
We'll see if they're still fighting themselves after they bring in a new team principal.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that real? I don't think it's real.
Oh, it's real.
It
It's
is definitely real, but I don't know that it's Fred Vasseur or however you say his name. I'm sorry.
No, I think you got it right, Freddie Vasseur.
yeah, so I didn't really agree with that either, but I was reading a few different, like, I don't know, the sources maybe are up in the air, but they were translating like Italian media sources of interviews and stuff that he did and Ferrari did and stuff, and apparently they had been working with him before and talking about like a promotionary contract, whether it's not necessarily team principal, but like moving him to the bigger team.
Mhm.
And like apparently that had escalated in the midpoint of the season.
Mm.
And then now there's all like this Matthias supposed to be stepping down. But there's also another thing that got brought up again at Abu Dhabi. Charles
What was
once
that?
again bringing up how good of a team principal Seb would be.
I don't think
It's a long shot. Putting
I
the
don't think
tinfoil hat
Sebastian
back on
Vettel.
again.
Yeah, I don't think Sebastian Vettel would take that big of a role so quickly after retiring.
Neither do I.
From what he's been saying about retiring, what he's been looking forward to, I think that and how in shambles Ferrari was this season for what they could have done, I think it's a bigger task than he wants to get involved with. Personally, I don't know about you guys, but personally,
No, I agree with that. I don't think that kind of return to F1 is aligned with his trajectory right now. I mean, he kind of seems like he's just trying to vibe and
yeah,
bullshit, kind of run his environmentalist campaigns and whatnot. Which more
yeah,
power to him for wanting to do that and actually, you know, staying true to his word and whatnot. But I think I have a feeling we're going to see him in the World Rally Championship
really.
in some form or fashion. That's my bet. I
I,
don't think he's gonna come back to F1.
I see that too. He's shown a lot of interest in that series and he's talked about it a lot. He did I'm pretty sure he regularly does that one event they do in I think it's Sweden. But that one sim racer beat him. And it's like
Oh,
a
you talking
short
about
track
the
rally event.
Race of Champions?
Race of Champions, yeah. And I'm sure that just fuels his thing. It's like, oh, there's a new breed over here, and then this is fun.
Yeah,
Not,
that would be interesting to see how high up he could make it.
I, I think that raw driving talent will bring him pretty up there. I'm not saying champion, but he'll be in the news for reasons other than his
Competitive.
name.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. He could do a lot of things. He could go do that. He could go see what I thought was how old is he again? 34, 35?
I think.
I can't remember. Maybe older. Maybe 36,
He is 35.
35. So I was thinking that he's going to do some sort of racing. He's going to go do something that's not Formula One, then I think he's going to end up back in Formula One doing what Kimi did. Just racing for a lower team like he was at Aston. But probably a Ferrari like an Alfa Romeo again. Just go back to his roots. I think he's going to miss it too much, personally.
Would you support that if he wanted to come back and do that though? Because there's a lot of kids, a lot of kids in reserve roles, and F2 just chomping at the bit trying to get a seat.
I would. I think he's earned it.
Yeah, but haven't they earned their drive?
Well, maybe. I don't know. I was thinking about this the other day. I mean, like, look at Latifi. Latifi should have not been in F1 as long as he was.
No, I agree there.
So it's like, I don't really want to play the deserve/earn. Well, I mean, earn is different than deserve. Deserve is different. But I don't want to play the deserved game because so many people deserve something, but they don't get that opportunity ever.
Yeah.
We might start to see the whole pay driver thing decline a little bit though, with the budget cap and
Mhm.
how it just is going to keep decreasing from season to season. There's just not as big of a need for extra funding.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. Like things like Joe's contract incident with Alpha Alfa Romeo. Now, don't get me wrong, like he's been a great driver this season. I hope he keeps it
Rookie
up.
of the year.
Yeah. Oh fuck. That's a participation trophy right there this
I was going to
season.
say
But
for him,
like,
he was the only one.
yeah. But he genuinely did drive the car really well. But the
He did.
whole
But I
him
mean,
being able to offer more sponsorship money is why they took him. Like,
yeah.
sure, that team's in the bag, but like, fuck, go talk to Andretti then if you want some money.
Well, Andretti just wants an F1 like by himself.
I know, but I
I
mean,
don't
like, don't like, cause who was it between? It was him and Schwartzman, wasn't it?
for Joe's spot.
Joe and Schwartzman, I think it was for that seat.
I
Or was
think it
it
was.
Theo Porcher?
Porsche. And like,
Yeah.
I've been rooting for him to get a seat for a couple years. Like, I want to see that kid get up here. He's got a lot of talent and a lot of drive. Like, it's
Yeah.
a tough conversation between the whole like, do you dip back into the same pool and keep bringing
Well,
back old drivers, or do you
Hulkenberg.
promote the young? Like, yeah, don't even get me started on that one.
Why is Hulkenberg back? I mean, don't get me wrong. Hulkenberg's a good driver, but there's so many other good young talented guys.
But
I
do
don't.
any of them want to sign for Haas? Like, even Daniel Ricciardo didn't want to go there. They had
I
to go.
think
They
he
had to
would
go
have.
take. Well, they told him months and months that a contract is there if he wants it, but they're not going to call him. Well, they just, like, dude, that's a walk down the fucking paddock. But to that, say no. The point that they had to go and take Aston Martin's reserve driver,
I
or
think
like,
personally, no matter the team, if you get offered to be in an F1 car, you should take it,
mm-hmm,
no matter the team.
definitely, man.
Can't just pick and choose,
You get to
unless
race
you're Oscar
cars for
Piastri.
you get to race cars for a living, and they're
Yeah.
paying you millions of dollars to do
Yes.
it. Just do it.
Yeah. For sure. But yeah, I think Sebastian Vettel has kind of solidified. Not really solidified. I would say somebody would give him another opportunity if he wanted to come back. Guarantee it.
Oh, definitely. But
Yeah.
we shall see.
Last season was kind of iffy for him, but this season he kind of had that old fight in. Yeah, he definitely had that old fight in him again.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say it was right after he announced his retirement as well, is when he really stepped it up again.
Just pushed.
Yeah.
Part of me
And
wonders if it's Aston Martin gave him the better car for a few races so that he could enjoy himself.
I think their car got better towards the end of the season, like at like period, because I don't know if you remember, but the beginning of the season, he was struggling to get in even Q2 in qualifying.
That is true. Canada
And
was
then, yeah, Canada, I remember that one. But like the last 3-4 races, he was in Q3
mhm.
and was competing for the best of the rest spot there with Lando. Just came down to strategy at that point, but which they didn't have. And they had Lance Stroll, so it's like lose-lose.
Man, that team will never be good until they can get someone else in that second seat. You want to
It's
talk about
Lance.
people who should not have had a seat for that long?
There
Like,
you go.
sure, that guy's gotten
Yeah,
significantly better since he got in the car. Sure,
yeah.
he is not a bad driver, but fuck me, there are so many better drivers. And I'm sure just them having talent will bring you more money.
Well, and I think they signed Felipe Drugovich
Correct.
as their reserve driver.
I hope they do a swap for them too.
You know they're not going to, especially with Lawrence Stroll so involved.
Well, Lawrence apparently last year was started shopping around, or no, sorry, not last year. Towards the start of this year, started shopping, selling the team.
I think it'd be better.
Which, like, bye bye Lance.
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah,
Lance won't have a seat because is it Mike Crack still the team boss?
correct.
Yeah, he probably will dump him so fast.
Oh yeah, that heck eyebrow have an ass.
Yeah,
Only Canadian representation looking ass.
for sure. But just swing back to Brazil. A little bit of controversy at the end with
Little bit of controversy.
Max and Checo.
Just a little bit.
What do we think?
I've got the
I mean,
Red Bull shirt on in my picture, so I feel like well, you know what? Actually, Bailey, why don't you go first? I want to see what you say.
you want me to start the controversy? I got it. Okay.
Yeah. Spice it
Okay.
up.
I mean, it's not really a huge conversation. It is what it is. I just seeing conversations. I don't like getting involved about these kinds of things. Same thing with the whole Lewis Max fight last year. I hated talking about it because it's so heavily opinionated. But if I was to give my opinion, and most people have not agreed with me, I don't think Max had to give that back to him. Although they asked him to, Checo finished 4 seconds behind Max. Max was 5/10 behind Fernando. So like he had a better chance of passing Fernando, no matter how close they were, than he was to slow down to let Checo gain 4 seconds on him. It would be different if Checo was closer, chasing him in DRS, something like that. It'd be easier. But to be 4 seconds was a little ridiculous. I wouldn't say ridiculous. It wasn't enough to like give it back. Kind of goes back to my conversation about deserving and earning the things in F1. F1's the peak of motorsport. You shouldn't be given stuff. You shouldn't be given a seat. You shouldn't be given points. Otherwise, it's like if you're going to be given stuff, then what's the point of looking at new drivers if it's just going to be the same roster if you're given everything? So, ultimately, it was 2 points, and all Checo had to do was, if it was that big of a deal, Checo had the better car for most of the season, and if all he had to do was go out and beat him in Abu Dhabi, which he didn't. Which, I mean, I don't know if that was his driving or it was the strategy. But it wouldn't have been that big of a deal if he just went out and beat him. Plus, 2 points wasn't a big swinger. It would have been different if it was like in the points. But as you could tell, I get a little heated from this topic.
I mean, they're all fair points, though. I actually agree with pretty much all of them.
Yeah,
Checo wasn't anywhere near where he needed to be. It's not like Max is gonna park it on the main straight in Interlagos and wait for him to cross the finish line first, and then
exactly.
he hits the gas and goes across. And even worse in Abu Dhabi, like 8 seconds. I mean, that's That's kind of absurd. And
Yeah,
there's probably people who are going to be like, "Whoa, blah blah blah, smash my face into the keyboard. What about Abu Dhabi 2021?" And it's
what
like,
about it? Totally different situation.
exactly right.
Yeah, it's all
Because
situational.
Checo, it's not like he directly gave Max the win there.
No,
He helped them and he influenced Mercedes' strategy and
yeah,
probably put Lewis in a more vulnerable spot than he was before. But I mean, it's not as easy as Checo gets out of the way for Max and then Max wins.
yeah,
Story.
100%.
Yeah, I think my first gut instinct at Brazil, and I think it's still, I still believe it, is he probably, if I were him, I would have given the position.
Yeah,
But I don't think any of the critique he got afterwards for not doing it was warranted. I mean,
I also think the way he responded was not the right way. I think if he just said, "We'll talk about it later," that would have been a totally different situation.
See, that's where well, I guess not really that's where, but I agree with you, and it's like that situation is I think what caused a lot of the backlash is the way
Yep,
that he handled it. It's like if he
yep.
said that, this would be a completely different
It wouldn't
situation.
even be talked about.
Like he comes back, oh, why didn't you give him the position back? I felt that you know, if we were actually closer in racing, then yeah, sure, but I
Yeah,
can't, like you said, park it in the middle of Interlagos and just wait for him.
yeah, for sure.
That would completely,
But I
yeah.
mean, like, look back at it. Checo lost by 3 points and 2 points. The 2 points he was gonna get back didn't even play a factor. So,
Nope.
but yeah,
Strong
I think
Ferrari
the
strategy, dude. For
yep,
once.
for once this season. But yeah, I think it was the part that fired it and fueled it was his response. So, um, do I think it's Max's fault? No, and yes, but I don't. It's not my place to say. So, yeah, there you go.
is this the
I
start of another Civil War kind of deal
no, I
between?
think it's the start of me getting canceled.
No, I think our other counterpart will get canceled before you.
Yeah, well, he's got to show up to get canceled.
Boom, roasted.
Oh, yeah.
He's too busy stuffing his face with
Yeah.
tzatziki.
No, I think him and Checo are good. I think it was just a misunderstanding. Um, because I mean, Max would have done anything to help Checo in Abu Dhabi, guarantee it. But that never came really into play. And if Max backed up to Charles, slow him down, probably would have passed him, which would have really screwed him. So, yeah,
Although, realistically, I think the skill ceilings between the two Red Bull drivers are way too different for there to
I
ever be
agree.
a legitimate fight.
Yeah,
But that
for
would be
sure.
awesome.
That being said, do you think there's a driver on the grid, and I'm gonna say other than Lewis, because the man is very talented, clearly, to drive that piece of shit car as well as he did all season. Didn't have the best performances, but he still drove it pretty damn good.
You're talking about the Mercedes?
Yeah, the Mercedes. Is there any
Um,
driver on the grid other than Lewis that you think could get in the second seat of the Red Bull and get
no,
anywhere close to Max?
no.
Like the guy just
Lew-
has a lot of raw
Lewis
talent.
finished behind George Russell this season
Yeah, because
by
George had
50
a really
points.
strong start, which I think was just adrenaline of being part of a big team for the first time.
It could have been, but you got to look back at his William days. He was putting that car places he shouldn't be.
Yeah,
Just just off of pure talent. Because again, you can look at Max too, same car, and he's just so much farther ahead of his teammate.
that is true. There was a few people at the start of the season saying that George was the king of driving shit cars
Yeah, that's for sure.
because the
But
Mercedes looked like a dolphin out there.
there were some races where there was a chance. Hungary, Silverstone, Brazil. Again, track based, as we said earlier. especially with like all the Mercedes cars. Williams really only had Spa, so it's like I think it was more of a Mercedes engine kind of thing.
I'm not sure. I
I don't know either.
to be honest, like it's tough. None of the Mercedes packages worked.
Not
Like
consistently.
the zero pod didn't work. The
Mm-mm.
Williams like half pod didn't work. They consistently had the fastest car, but that doesn't matter shit when you can't take a corner. And then McLaren was just all over the board, which to be honest, going into the season, I was like, I thought with a fresh board, and I genuinely thought McLaren had like I thought McLaren had one of the top aero departments and aero development. Like I thought they were going to come out of the gate swinging this year. They were really
Mm-hmm.
on the upswing, and then they just. So I don't know. Like
Well, I mean,
I'm not too sure it's a power unit thing. I think just 3 teams dropped the ball and they all happen to have the same engine in the back.
well, I think engine combination also played the factor as well.
But Mercedes has one of the. Doesn't Mercedes have the smallest engine like confine
No,
like the actual one of the smallest constructions?
no, I don't think so.
Because Alpine's I know looks like a monster.
Yeah,
Al-
Alpine's is big, but I definitely know Mercedes is not as small as you think. I think the Ferrari engine's the smallest. I
yeah.
might be wrong, but don't quote me on that.
I'm kind of with Josh. I feel like Mercedes has the smallest, but I'm gonna Google that.
I'm doing it right now.
The way I looked at it is just looking at like the back from behind the driver to the wheels from the overhead and looking at how narrow the actual engine compartment area is. Like the
Mm-hmm.
Mercedes seem really small because I know they run that split turbine up top, so they don't like a lot of it's confined between the V, which that's some brilliant engineering, man.
I mean, the whole car is.
Oh, I could get lost in that stuff. I love watching like flow viz and wind tunnel stuff. Mesmerizing.
If given the opportunity to work in F1, would you work in it?
I would drop everything I have, man.
100%. I would,
I
yeah, I
literally
would fake my death.
scour the sites all the time.
Yep, 100%. I don't care if it's mopping the floor,
Literally.
selling T-shirts, taking pictures.
And like I work on cars for a living just as a mechanic,
Hmm.
but before I was in mechanics, I was in engineering with the hopes of going to automotive engineering and like performance parts or aerodynamics and stuff was the end goal. Like that would be the ultimate shot to go to a place like that and then just get the door shut because you couldn't make an eighth of a wing gain a little bit of lap time. This gurney's too big. Get it out of here.
Hmm. Um, well, I can't seem to find the engine sizes. I don't know if anybody else has looked.
I gave up,
Yeah, I
but
can't find it.
yeah, I'm kind of with Josh. I don't think it's the power unit so much as the chassis, and I don't think the Mercedes was as bad as they made it seem to be. I mean, on paper and results wise, yeah, it was
Yeah.
rough, but clearly they've been able to pull something out of it, and they were uh, tabling just general development to make time for fixing the porpoising at the beginning of the season. For actually, probably the whole first half of the season.
I was gonna say it took them probably an awfully long time to figure out the porpoising.
Well, I think it might have just been scheduling their upgrades. It's like, well, we only got so much money, and it's like all of what it would take to correct porpoising and get this car competitive would cost, I would say, close to their allocation. So they
Hmm.
just spread it out throughout the season, and by the end, they're like, yeah, well, we've seen because like there's a decent spread of like track variety throughout the season and what they demand, and
Yeah.
I don't know, going back to Spain in the middle of the season. That looked a lot different than preseason testing.
Oh, 100%.
And I think that might have just been like, yeah, we got this now, put it in the oven, just let it cook over the season.
But it got to the point of where they wanted like rule changes because of porpoising, but they were the ones struggling with it the most.
I don't disagree with the whole rule changes due to porpoising. Like, don't forget, like that was also a rule back when ground effect was first introduced in Formula One. And that's when the J damper was developed to get around the minimum ride height rule. I think it was the J damper. Like using the aerodynamics of the car to actually change its ride height to create more downforce when it's driving, but under a measurement in like unloaded state, it sits at the correct height.
Yeah.
But the I don't know if you guys read into the or have read into the testing that's been going on already at Abu Dhabi, because they had the testing session not long after the race, and
It's like the next day or something, or 2 days.
something like that, and
Yeah.
Piastri apparently topped Lando, and Alonso is 100% certain of his statements and decision to switch to Aston.
Well, I think that was clear before even the last race of the season.
Oh yeah, there's clear signs that that team is on the big upswing if they hit the package right.
Yeah. For sure.
The team that they've brought in and just their overall the team, the know-how that they've got now, like they're not just a flashy car.
Yeah. The only one I do remember seeing was that they had I was reading something on Facebook. It was about the Mercedes testing. Who did they have? They had a new driver come in as well that tested for them. I can't remember, but it was Lewis did the Pirelli tire testing on the W13 for the last time, and he did like 67 laps, and said at the end of it, he said, "This car beep sucks."
Damn.
Yeah. So then that's when Toto said, "All right, well, looks like we're retiring this car, putting it in the what I think he said like the foyer or something like that. Every time you walk in, just know that that's what losing feels like."
Damn.
Yeah.
Like
So
there's a lot of things to hate about Mercedes, but Toto's management style is A1.
I agree.
Like a lot of the interviews he does where he deep dives into just the minute ways he handles things and why he does things the way that he does, it's like, yo, that's really smart.
Toto's super smart.
He's a millionaire for a reason.
Yeah, he has done a lot for Mercedes.
Going back on the new name for Mercedes in the postseason test, I think it's Frederick Vespi.
Oh, Frederick Vesti, that's right. Yeah, so he was doing tests on new parts of the Mercedes, something like that, and apparently it was a game changer.
I believe it was floor changes they wanted to make, wasn't it?
Yeah,
That they kept talking about?
Yep. It was like almost an entire new floor system or new floor package.
I wonder if they copied Red Bull.
the silver Red Bull.
Well, if you look
The
at
green Red Bull.
the way the front gating to the, I don't know what you would call the quote unquote underside pod that doesn't exist, side pod. It kind of started to look a lot more and more like the early 2022 Red Bull floor. Like really jagged edges, a big open scoop. And it's like, okay, maybe that would work when you need a shit ton of underbody downforce because you're not making any overbody.
Yeah, we'll see. Just brings back the green Red Bull.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah. I was looking back at top 10 season highlights, and that was like number 3 was the green Red Bull when Red Bull's pit wall was sitting with green Red Bulls in their hand.
That was funny.
That was very comical.
I think after the first race when Aston Martin just didn't show up, we all disregarded it.
Yeah, I think so as well.
Like, okay, mission failed.
Yeah.
You can't successfully copy homework.
No. They're the kid that copies off the dude who gets Fs. It was even though they didn't have that great of a season, it was nice to go get to see Seb drive in person, like going to the
Oh, you
Grand
did
Prix and
go?
whatnot.
That's
Yeah,
right. I remember that. I remember that now.
and like spending a stupid amount of money on merch, and now he's
Yeah.
retired, but it's okay. I'm looking forward to buying Fernando Alonso merch now.
Oh, Fernando. You're gonna jump on the Fernando bandwagon now?
Well, I'll buy a Nando hat. Might as well put it on the collection
Um,
wall.
who would you say is your favorite driver of all time?
Sebastian Vettel.
Seb. What about you, Dom?
I don't know that I have one.
No?
No,
Michael
no.
Schumacher.
Well, sorry, Formula. Let me backtrack there for a second. Sorry to interrupt. Formula One or all racing?
Well, let's say both.
Keiichi Chuchi. Keiichi? Sorry, Keiichi
even say his name.
Tsuchiya.
You can't even say his name.
I know, there's a lot of I's in his first name, man, and a couple U's, okay?
Yeah.
A lot of people refer to him as DK. He spent a lot of time in, like, he did Le Mans, he did cup racing, he did event racing, he did mountain pass and togue racing, he did, like, stage racing, all kinds of shit. And just an extremely talented driver of many, many disciplines. That's the word I'm looking for.
There you go. And would you still stick with Seb then?
Seb in F1, like
Favorite
we,
F1 driver ever, Seb?
yeah, watching him at his BMW test was the first time I ever watched anything F1, and seeing him drive, I'm like, ooh, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Just kind of stuck. Followed him to Red Bull, and that was a good
He came
time.
in hot and heavy
Yep.
for sure. What about you, Dom?
I don't really have one. I mean, hearing Josh go back to Seb's BMW Sauber test way back when, it kind of puts my own experiences into perspective. I guess I haven't really been around that long. I did student formula in college, and that was 5 years ago, and that's kind of when I started paying attention a little bit. So I really
Mhm.
haven't been around nearly as long. But I don't know. To be honest, I don't even know what my qualifications would be for favorite driver. Um, I think Fernando Alonso is super feisty, super exciting to watch. He always fights super hard.
Yeah.
Max is gritty, but sometimes he just blatantly ignores the line, as we saw in
Yeah.
Interlagos, even though that wasn't entirely his fault.
No. We won't touch about that. That's a sensitive topic.
Right. Other than that, I don't know. Anybody who's willing to get their elbows out, I think is just exciting to watch.
Yeah, I agree.
Fernando Alonso is always the first one that comes to mind there.
And that's what I was gonna say is Fernando Alonso is my go-to all-time favorite F1 driver. Although he may not have the success that Seb has, Lewis has. I mean, he's tied with Max now, so it's just he's been with so many teams. He's been able to fight with every car he's been in, and doesn't back down from a challenge. I'd argue he's one of the greatest F1's ever had. Not the best, but one of the greatest. Most entertaining to watch on and off the track. Because one person. So when I grew up, I was watching NASCAR when I was a kid, and what I liked was to compare him and Tony Stewart together, with how fiery they both were. I don't know if you guys watch NASCAR at all. Probably not.
A little bit.
Yeah. So like Tony Stewart got me into racing, but getting further into racing is where Fernando Alonso got me. So to me he's like the pioneer.
I see.
Yeah.
Now, an interesting second question to that, and kind of builds off it. Sometimes it's a lot of times it's the same person, but being that we're all racers here, is there a driver that you guys feel you emulate your driving after?
Dominic Duran, yeah. personally. No, I'm kidding. um,
Damn, slap in the face, Dom. How do we feel about that?
I'm not as good as
I'm
Dominic
going to
Duran.
say Bailey Kitch, so this is kind of awkward.
Damn.
I can't believe you'd stoop that low to me.
Oh, it's not that much lower.
That's what you think.
2 splits.
Well, I would say that I was able to race you in Coda last season.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we've had some good moments.
We have. Why don't you go first, Dom? We'll let you take this question first.
Driving style or like general performances?
Either or, like whether it's the way you approach building up to a race day, or like how you try to drive on the track, or even just the way you celebrate.
I
That
have
could be a lot
zero
of things.
Kimmy celebrations. I don't go too crazy when I get a good result. I kind of just take my headset off and take a breather because I'm so focused and tired.
I do that when I don't have a good result.
So, yeah, I grab a beer in that case.
Yeah.
I performance wise, I feel like I'm getting close to George Russell. I don't like to say that, but I have to admit it because I'm gonna go out on a limb here and just say I think George Russell is a dirty hot lapper.
You dirty dog. I was gonna say that.
Are you comparing George Russell to season 2 Daihy?
Was season 2 Daihy a dirty hot lapper?
He was quick and quali, but his race performances were not the best.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So, okay, here, let me clarify then. I think I'm like 2022 George Russell, where you kind of fall into clean air for the entire race, and any passing you do gets done in the pits. And if you do attempt to make a pass on track, it's either just not going to work, or you just don't make it cleanly. And that I haven't had many incidents from myself overtaking, but I have most of my success in the SRA races has come from finding clean air and then hot lapping and just getting it in really good, consistent laps. And then it happening to end up with a good result. So that's performance-wise, George Russell. Driving-wise, I don't. Who likes to stalk people's bumpers and just camp there?
Hmm.
I'd say any NASCAR driver ever.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the entirety of the sport.
Yeah. In F1 though, I don't know who was like good as just sticking behind, waiting for a mistake or something.
We definitely didn't have that until this season with the new regs.
Well, yeah, because you didn't have really that opportunity with how destroying the dirty air was. Yeah,
Just
that is
makes me
true.
hate
That's
years
a very
past.
valid point. Yeah, no, I think you're right there. I don't think we've really had with the DRS and stuff. I don't think there's really been. I'd say Charles Leclerc, personally, would be one of those guys. Waits for the optimal overtaking opportunity. Would you say that's kind of what you go off of?
Personally, if I was to try and compare it to somebody, as in like making methodical decisions, I would say Carlos.
For yourself?
No, I mean just like somebody who's good at like waiting back and like knowing when to
Oh,
strike.
yeah.
It seems just by like the way he communicates with the team and what he says that he's very like analytical and knows when it's the
Mhm.
right time to strike.
Yeah. I was just thinking more back to the whole thing. The first race at Bahrain was Charles Leclerc and Max. The whole DRS thing. Same thing with Saudi Arabia. The whole DRS thing, kind of just picking your moments, when to overtake, when to not overtake. Just because that kind of stuck out to me most with him this season, was he was very smart, or as it took Max several tries. But yeah,
I'd say
Carlos is also another one of those.
Yeah, I try to I will say personally I try to be a little bit of Carlos during the race, like, and it comes back to bite me sometimes. I'm thinking too much, or I'm trying to get myself too much information to make a decision, like where cars are, what's my delta, what's this, what's that, and then all of a sudden I've missed a braking point and I'm in the
Yeah,
runoff. But
yeah,
which he's done a few times too, so I'm sure that's the same situation there.
yeah.
Flashbacks Australia, but I don't know. It's
And just to further help you, Josh, I will say that you do that.
I, sorry.
I said I was gonna say just to help you further prove your point. Racing against you and behind you, you do fall into those circumstances of seeing the gravel
Yeah, just a few times. And
just a few times.
it's for some reason this season it has always been at the start of the race.
Yeah,
I can't think off the top of my head if there's anybody on the F1 grid who has had good qualifyings, botches the start, and then gets a shit result. Or
it's
has to
not
have like a
common.
battled back.
Yeah, it's not common.
I mean, like, the Alpines have got caught out at the start a few times,
Yeah.
but not bad enough to be representative of the shit that I'm doing.
Well, luckily for you, you don't get in like super bad accidents. You just kind of go off, so you don't lose a whole lot.
Yeah, I just kind of like punch myself in the face and, you know,
Basically, what could
trip.
have been first ended up being fifth.
Yeah. Only got 2 races to flash back on, but Suzuka hurts so much.
Oh, Suzuka was sad to watch.
Like,
I was behind you, and
the S's is one place
there he
on
goes.
any track where I feel I have the most confidence in either A, closing a gap, B, pulling a gap, or C, making an overtake.
Hmm.
And I proceeded to completely screw it up and just drive into the sand. Not even the grass, which 90% of the runoff is the sand.
Yeah,
Like, disappointing.
yeah,
Do you guys
it
get hard
is.
on yourself when you race?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's more often than not, it's my own mistake.
Yeah, same for me. Like for me, my bad habit. If I make one mistake or something like that, I get down on myself for the entire race, and then it just keeps going. It keeps getting worse because I just that one little hiccup just brings me down, and then I lose my focus because I'm so disappointed. And then what could have been fifth or something like that, or sixth or seventh, I ended up getting like 30th or something. Luckily, it hasn't happened to me yet this season. It happened to me once at Suzuka, but I ended up still making a result of it. So I'm trying to get out of it, but it's such a bad habit.
It's tough to break sometimes. It's a surprisingly large amount of mental fortitude that's required to pull yourself back from a situation like that because
Yeah,
a lot of the times it's, well, personally it's, what are you trying to do? You've never tried to turn in that little before. Why did you try to do it there? And now you're in the
yeah,
grass.
yep.
Meanwhile, you've
Or
now gone through maybe a breaking point, a corner that you could have also screwed up while you're still having that mental conversation or out loud
hmm
one if you're that kind of person.
yep, I definitely am.
I try to keep them mental because I get very aggressive with myself.
Yeah. Taylor tells me all the time. I always get in, like if I get in an accident or I spin or something like that early in the race, he goes, "It's early. It's a long race. Don't get down on yourself." I'm like, I'll try." And he's like he's racing still, and he's trying to like cheer me up, and I'm just like not having it. It's so toxic, and I hate that I do it.
That's such a good teammate. I had that
I
in
know.
Justin during my during season 2. I think it was season 3 when I had Justin as my teammate.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was no, season 2 was season 2. Vantage
Or
Point.
was it season one? Because I think Justin was my teammate for seasons 2 and 3.
Oh right, you guys had the back to back. That's where my math is wrong. Season 1 with Justin and I think it was what I'm thinking of, sorry, is season 2 and 3 he would sometimes he would hang out with me in the voice chats, and I know he was there with a couple of my championship races, and he would do the same thing. Just, it's a long race. Keep your head down,
Yeah.
and there's times where you're not coming back from that. Like, shut up, man. I'm in
No.
the wall.
Yeah.
Like, I got 90
Yeah.
seconds of damage. I'm done. But
Like
there's other
causing the
times where
biggest
it's
accident.
there's other times where that's just what you need, and it'll
Yeah.
help you and just zone back in.
Yeah.
Zandvoort was one of those races for me. That track just for some reason sector 1, the flow, I get too fast, and then it's hard to get myself collected for that right-hander.
Yeah. I had the part that I struggled with most. I spent a lot of time practicing it. I struggled most with qualifying. So I'd qualify so bad, and then I'd get down on myself because it was so bad. I'd qualify like 30 to 40th or something like that. And so this was last season after the whole BOP thing. The Audi got dropped so bad. So I was just out of it, and that's when it all started. I started to get like depressed. I was like, I just suck at this game. I can't race. What am I doing with my life? Then I started practicing. Kodo was the only one I practiced, and I ended up like getting the hang of it and stuff. And then I got the big one.
The big one.
Yeah, the big one. Duran knows what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
we tried to come away from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if for anyone who doesn't know, you talk about the stop go 30, right?
The stop go 30, the drive through, the pit lane start, everything that you could give, I got that race.
Phew.
Yeah.
I got the buffet dinner.
Yeah. And so for a little clarification, for those of you who don't know, Dominic Duran is the lead steward for SRA, correct?
That is correct.
That is correct. So he sees everything. I actually tried to I went for it. I tried to dispute mine, although I don't think it was disputable. Yeah.
I kind of want to go back and see some incidents that we ruled on, because if we're being honest, I mean, our stewarding team was a bunch of rookies to begin with. Like, we really didn't have anyone with serious experience. And I think we've looked at so many incidents, and I think we've come a decent ways from where we were.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking of it was turn 1 at Coda, right?
It was turn 1. Yep. I was P3 behind. I don't remember who I was behind. I was behind Loic and somebody else.
Yep.
And I got squeezed so far to the inside. I hit my braking point where I usually do, but since I'm so far left, the corner is so much closer. And so I ended up just going into the side of Loic, and I spun, and I just sat there on the apex, and I got hit by about 15 cars.
You hate to see it.
Yeah.
We had that stop go 30 came from the origin of it was, I think, was Spa. Yeah, Spa was the first race of last season, right?
Yeah.
Well, we had I don't remember if it was D2 or D3, but lap 1 was an absolute melee. I mean, it was D2. So bad.
Because I started 43rd that race, so into Radion and Eau Rouge, there was a big one. And then after I think it was the end of turn 4 into turn 5, there was another big one where it was another like 12 cars.
Yeah, exactly.
And I gained 20 to 30 positions on the first 7 corners. It was that bad.
So after that, they had a somewhat, in hindsight, unjustified knee-jerk reaction, and implemented the stop go 30 penalty for anybody who causes or contributes to really big incidents like that on lap 1.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of unhappy people. I think it was okay. It kind of did its job. It actually, I think the races now are a lot cleaner.
I agree.
But it was not something we needed to stick with, so it was kind of good that we abolished that.
Definitely.
I don't know. I think it was more of like I think it was a good enforcement. Like, if you're not going to race clean, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, In
And
my
for
opinion, from a racer standpoint, it looked kind of just like a, you know what? If you can't play with your toys right, you don't get your toys.
yeah,
So like, you
yeah.
don't be a
Well,
fool. Drive properly. There are cars around you.
mhm,
You gotta learn. Do your best, but like, don't go dive bombing people. But yeah, I agree.
yeah.
It's nice that we're not sticking with that.
I mean, don't get me wrong, me either, but I definitely think it wasn't a bad thing.
No, it was. I think it was justified for getting the point across.
Yes,
And
100%.
we don't really see any repeat offenders anymore. Um, there are a handful of new guys who it's their first season and they probably haven't raced in the league before. They're just used to Monza and Spa public lobbies, and they're
Same.
learning. They're
Yeah,
getting better.
yeah,
Yeah.
But overall, we don't see incidents where it's just people coming out of left field and just T-boning the shit out of the next car in front.
yeah.
Um,
And then it's a
it's always
15
like,
person club.
oh, I'm not that good at following closely. I missed my braking point a little bit. I gave him a tap going into the corner.
Yeah.
Uh, it's
Or
nothing. Yeah, it's nothing born out of aggression anymore. I don't think.
It's nice to see that the overarching goal is coming together without, I guess you could say, any force besides that little bit of stop go 30 enforcement. Like, the league is just naturally creating a clean, competitive racing environment.
yeah, 100%.
Now we're kind of maybe some people are leaning towards, oh, now we're being inconsistent with the penalties we're dishing out and whatnot. But it's like, yeah, well, we're all learning here. We're trying to find the happy medium. It's not. I mean, cars have BOPs, and to be honest, stewarding kind of has a balance too that we have to find. It's a constant pursuit of finding the balance point that makes everyone happy, and at the end of the day, not everyone is going to be happy because someone is going to walk away with penalty points. But it is what it is. We all play by the same rules, and I guess we do our best to try to make sure that everyone everyone receives the penalties they deserve.
Yeah, and we've actually told Lucas this off podcast a couple times, just that I mean we're not stewards ourselves, but we just say that um penalties are not given out for fun. You're given a penalty if you've deserved it. Um you're not targeted, you're not um you're not being the scapegoat or anything like that. You're just, it is what it is. You got the penalty for what you did. Um yeah, that's kind of just what not just Lucas. I tell people that all the time. It's like there's a reason you got a penalty. There's a reason they gave you what they gave you. So it's like you kind of just have to accept it, move on. Sometimes penalty is a little harsh, but you can't be perfect with this many people.
All right, we got, I don't know, maybe with our lap one autos that we do, maybe 80 incidents a week that we got to
Yeah,
go through.
yeah.
Um, and in 6 races, it's not terrible.
No, it could be a lot worse.
Sure, exactly. And yeah, and if we do happen to make a mistake in one of those 80 or more, then I guess that's what we have. We have appeals for
Yeah,
people
exactly.
who genuinely care, and it helps honestly. Sometimes
Yeah,
we get really really good appeals, and it's
mhm.
like, wow, I'm super sorry that we missed that when we were going over the replay. But thanks for bringing that up, and that just makes the stewarding team better at the end of the day.
Especially yeah, because you guys get to gain that in the future. Now, you get to go. You have to look at that what you missed. You get to see that perspective in the future. So, less mistakes will probably be. Not that I'm saying you guys have mistakes. Can't be perfect, but it's just kind of. I definitely think that the appeals are definitely a good thing as well. Is what I'm trying to say, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of a wonder in to me what the stewarding team does. Like, you guys put in a lot of work, from the actual tickets to the appeals to setting the ground rules to trying to keep a baseline standard of, I guess you could say, how you view something, what actually is a penalty, what is not a penalty, and the people that are effective on your team, and the team's gotten pretty big now. I remember when tickets were coming out the day before the next race. But it's beautiful, man.
Sometimes it's flip up a little bit. This with the 2 week break here, I was pretty late on posting appeals at least. But we
that's
try
okay.
to do tickets within at least by the weekend.
Yeah, I mean everybody's got a life, and you know sometimes I mean you get tickets on Tuesday, a bunch of the stewards race on Wednesday, and then maybe one of them's hosting and doing the coaching session on Thursday, and everybody works and stuff like that on top of that. So with what goes on in life itself, like you guys do a great job.
Well, thank you. And we've got so many people contributing, just the SRA in general, and you two are no strangers to that. It's super cool to see what everyone brings, and you guys are bringing it in more than one medium. I mean, you guys commentate on race nights, and then you come and do the podcast, which is sick. Um, but yeah, it's just cool to see what everyone brings. It's definitely what sets this community apart from others.
Exactly. And I think that's why so many people refer to SRA as a community, not a racing league. It's a community because it's literally like over 1,000 people talking about what they did for work, what games they're playing, how they're doing this, but also sharing setups, learning how to drive faster, teaching each other how to hit apexes consistently, how to feel like how to stay in the zone for longer than X amount of time, and it's awesome. It's
Yeah.
so I don't know. It almost feels like a second home sometimes.
The craziest part to me is that everybody is so competitive, so friendly, um, like such a community and so welcoming. People are racing for literally no prize. There's all you're racing for is bragging rights, and everybody is just so on board with it, and it's actually like one of the coolest things that I've seen personally.
Bailey, what are you talking about? There's a prize.
There is.
Yeah, you win the championship and you
Ooh,
get to drink out of a shoe
Oh, see, I
on
haven't had that
SRA
opportunity.
live stream.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's
maybe
about
one
it
day.
though.
Yeah,
Point
that
still
all just
made.
yeah, exactly. Now that all puts it into perspective. You take a step back and you realize you could chat with one person about the race the night before in one chat, and then 5 minutes later you go to like Flavortown or something, and you guys are the same two people are talking about brisket,
Yeah,
and you could just expect that out of anyone. It's that's completely wild. Wow, it's total community.
it's
yeah,
it's a wonderful place to be, and if you're
it
not
is.
here even for the racing aspect, you should be. Don't forget the links in the description below. The simracingalliance.com, very easy to find website, and yeah, I mean, get yourself in here. Come learn about how some of our guys are smoking brisket or what new cars we're driving.
Yeah, you don't even have to race. You could just come hang.
Exactly. We need someone to compete with Diego's gifts.
Oh no, we
That
got so many Among Us gifts or Mogus.
it
Mogus.
I don't know who has it better. Him with the gifts or Fosley with the just random clips of anything you
I,
could think of.
Majid is up there. I will say that Majid is up there.
When
They're
somebody
both
when somebody references a clip of audio from the spa like over the radio thing and he just pulls up the actual interview, oh Jesus, the actual interview, like that is hilarious.
they're both master shit posters.
No doubt. I can only aspire to reach their level of excellency.
Rather just talk.
Sometimes. There's
Yeah,
a few things
sometimes.
that require a good meme for a reaction. When Doug or Tyler start talking about feet.
Yeah.
Just
Don't
when
get
I
me
thought
started
we
on
were
that.
out of that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't get me started on that.
Buddy, Doug's digits will never escape you.
Doug's digits had escaped me until this very moment. I have a feeling I might get to see him in Daytona.
Oh yeah,
Ooh.
in a month or month and a half.
Uh,
Beginning.
yeah, I think so. Month and a half, 2 months.
It's a little under a month and a half, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Rolex 24 hour is going to be a boatload of fun for anybody who gets to go to that. There's a bunch of the SRA that's going, and they're getting a little bit of a meetup going with some. I think we're doing some go-karting, some screw around, some fun around, and of course some watch some race.
Absolutely.
That's another wild thing to think about too. We just met each other over Discord.
Yep.
Hey
Well,
mom,
most of
I'm going to
a year
meet
ago.
my friends off the internet.
And she says, "Cool, where are you guys hanging out?" And you just said Daytona Beach.
Okay, how much is the flight? My God, what
How
a
much is
world
it for
we
you,
live
Josh?
in now. How much is it for me? It was like
Yeah,
I think it was sub $400 round trip Canadian.
that's actually not bad.
Yeah, it was like I priced the whole thing out and I wanted to go. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, as soon as I got ready to book it, uh the College of Trades decided to email me and go, "Hey, we're sending you to school at the exact same time." So, no. But like
Mm,
I think altogether, and I planned to go down with my girlfriend and spend like a total of a week there.
mm-hmm.
Come down a little early, leave a little late, and I think it was like under $1,000 including Airbnb.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah. Meanwhile, she's like, "Let's go to Punta Cana for $2,000 each."
Ew. No, not
I'm
worth it.
okay.
I'd rather go see the boys
Exactly. The
and girls
boys.
and
Huh?
girls.
There's a beach there. There's drinks. You're good.
Just pretend.
Exactly. You got VR.
Yeah.
But we're inching up on that hour and a half mark, so I think we might have to close the curtains on this episode. I want to say, Dom, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you in the booth, and we're genuinely trying to go around the air quotations globe of SRA and get some of the stewarding team in here, bring some of our graphic design team in here, some of our racers from different divisions and stuff like that, and I think I don't think there was anybody better to start it off. Dom's
Nope.
a
I
great
agree.
personality in and around the league, and the stewarding team is at the absolute core of making this league work. So,
For
yeah,
sure.
thanks for coming on, man. And yeah, what do you, to end things off, a question for you. What is what are you looking forward to most about the 2023 F1 season?
2023. I want to see what 67% of wind tunnel time Red Bull can make. I want to see whether or not Red Bull can make the most out of that. I want to see, and I think we will see, a three-way fight for the Constructors' Championship. I know Ferrari's going to get back on top of their reliability issues. I know Mercedes are going to continue their momentum. And I think Red Bull, regardless of whatever punishment they're taking at the end of the season here, are still coming off of a high and will still carry momentum into the next season. So I'm just excited to finally see a three-way fight.
I think the entirety of the globe is ready to see that. It's the little glimpses we had this year are beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Through goes Hamilton.
And through goes Hamilton. Yeah, Mercedes is not my team, but that hit hard when it happened.
I agree. One of the most iconic commentary lines of all time, in my opinion.
It's up there.
Yeah.
Without further ado, ladies, gentlemen, and everything in between, it's been a slice. We will see you next week.